So I born in Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh, and I was highly influenced by my parents. My both the parents were teachers. My father was a botany professor, and my mother was a secondary education teacher, and then she retired as a director of secondary education of Uttar Pradesh. So my first influencer was my father, and the how. And if you ask that how did I get into the chemistry, so it all started that I was really very much interested in botany initially. But my father was a botanist, and he said that if you will do anything in botany, it will always be told that it is just because your father was a botanist, so you could make a career in the botany. And my father, one thing more, my father used to tell me every day that nothing is a better job to become a teacher. And that also, he always used to tell me that if you become a university teacher, you can in every year, if you can change the path of even one single student, that is enough for your career. Every year, if you can just say make one good student. Good means his philosophy of good was that if you take a student who is a weak student, who is not able to perform in science, or want to leave the science, or not able to do good in the science for several reasons, if you can train them and you can make them the future scientists who can work for your own country or globally, that would be the best thing. So that is how I'm here. So my second love was chemistry, and then I moved to the chemistry, and I actually read into a very small place that is a place. Jaunpur is a place which is nearby to Varanasi. So I studied. I did my masters from there. That is called as Tilakdhari Singh College. Today it is a Purvanchal University. So I read there. I did my masters in chemistry there, and then I moved to Allahabad University, which used to be called as the Oxford University, Oxford of India at that time. And every child has to go to the Allahabad if they really want to do anything in their life. So that's what how I entered in the chemistry. So I tell you because I was studying in Jaunpur. So Jaunpur is a place which is a say eastern city, and where there you will find that most of the time uh, the I was the only girl in my class, and there were 20 boys. So we were a batch of 21 students in masters, and most of the students who used to come there, they were not from educated background. So some of them were the son and of the some of the faculties over there. Otherwise, more or less, they used to come from a family where they were either their say parents were some kind of a contractors, or they are farmers. And there was like they were typically from a background where the women were used to be in say they were not very active, and women were not in the jobs, and women were was a kind of a material for them. They were not a person who can really deliver anything, or they can be of any good. They can be only a household person for them. So he always used to tell me that when say you should try to take any say male student. If you take, you tell them that how can they really how should they talk to the woman, how if they train their own sister. He always used to say, if you tell him to talk to their mother, they will not do it, but at least you can talk to them about their own sister and their future wife, because we were all unmarried at that time. So he said that if you can just tell them that the your own friends or your student, that they should respect women, and they should actually give them any kind of education. If they do not want to give them a very formal education, they don't want to put money at that time, they don't want to put money in the student the say teaching of the women. So if they can, if they agree to put some kind of a money in that, so that will be helpful to them in terms of training their own child tomorrow, or maybe that will be helpful in earning, better earning to them. So he used to say that the way they understand, you have to talk to them in their language. If you will only talk to them that learning science or learning, going to the colleges will be helpful for your youth, for you, for the nation or something, they will not understand. He always used to say that you tell them in terms of their language. You tell them that they will earn more money, and that money will come to the house, and that will also be helpful for you. So that is how that is what I'm talking about, the about my colleague, my friends there. And when you say in terms of the students, for students, he always used to tell me that that you have to teach them, if they are from the Hindi speaking background, try to teach them in say some of the things in Hindi languages also, because they are being taught till say bachelor, or maybe up to the 12th in the Hindi language only. So you should try to teach them in Hindi language. And if you're talking in terms of the anecdotes, I can't say, but there was one thing which he always used to tell us, that there was a newspaper used to come at that time, which was called as a Northern India Patrika. And in the Northern India Patrika, he used to tell us that you, what you do, that you take the Hindi Patrika also, and the English also, and the editorial of that everyday's paper, if you take it in Hindi and then convert it in, and if you read it in Hindi, English also, and you just discuss with them sometimes those details, those, that particular column, they will be those are very good columns, they use very good English over there, they could they take very important matter over there, very important topics. So they will be really happy, and they will learn from you, and they will be interested in learning the English, because if they want to do science, they have to learn English, because that is an international language. So when I was doing masters, so there was a paper of inorganic chemistry, and I used to love periodic table. And one of my teacher, he converted the periodic table into a kind of a say kind of a song. So he used to tell us Hari, Nemag, Alsi, Pascal, R. That was a kind of a slang he created for us. I can say slang, or you can say it was a kind of a poetic language he has created for us. And that is how he made us learn all the elements of the periodic table. And he was a very good teacher. His name was KB Singh. And I got at that time, that college was under Gorakhpur University, so paper used to come from Gorakhpur University. And in the master's first year, I got out of 33 marks, 33 the paper used to come of the 33 years, 33 marks only at that time, one paper. So I got out of 33, I got 32 marks. And the and because the copies were checked by the university faculty, so he was very, very happy. And then from that was the day, actually, that you can say that the periodic table made me mad for the chemistry. That was the one reason that I started liking the chemistry. Yeah, so what happened that I so directly I'm coming to why I'm doing this. First, I would like to tell you. See what happened that uh, if I escape my doctorate to postdoctorate position and come to directly to the faculty position. So when I joined Delhi University, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Center for Biomedical Research, that was a new course which was started by Delhi University, and which was an MSc PhD integrated course. And that biomedical sciences includes 16 different subjects. and that starts from chemistry, biochemistry, then it was say toxicology, pharmacology, drug development, then anatomy, physiology, pathology. So it was a very very different kind of a course, and if you really look into that, that includes almost 16 different courses which were brought under the umbrella of the master's and PhD combined degree program in biomedical sciences. So while we were doing that, while when I joined Delhi University North Campus, I was in between. So I came from a chemistry background, and suddenly I found myself in between a very strong group of biologists. And as you know, I was very very young, and we were very say you say I lucky that I had some very good chemist in connected to that particular biomedical sciences center, and that is one of the very finest chemists, that is Professor Sukhdev, who is still alive, and he's 100 years, his 100 years is completed this year, and he's one of the most famous say chemist in India, who so he was there, and so I started working with him on some industrial project, although I was a faculty, but we used to work with him also. And then somehow and then there were another faculty there, where there was Professor GBV Subramaniam, who was retired from Department of Chemistry, and he who was also associated to that place. So specifically my early work was like quite influenced with the Professor Sukhdev. And Professor Sukhdev, from very beginning of his life, he started working with the industry. So that is why he used to tell us always that whatever you do, you should do some such kind of a work which can be translated, which can be useful to the chemistry, to the industry, pharmaceutical industry. And he used to do a lot of projects for pharmaceutical industry. And so that is how I in my mind also it came that I should also do some such work which can be useful for the industry. So then what happened that I was working on heterocyclic chemistry, methodology development, synthesis of small molecules. So I thought, no, from today I will make only those small molecules which can be really be used as a new drug candidate. So then what I started doing, that I started reading about the medicinal chemistry, and I learned myself medicinal chemistry, and I was in a very good environment where I had one immunologist, one molecular biologist, one pharmacologist, one toxicologist, one medicinal chemist. So we used to discuss to each other, and that is how what happened, that I rather than developing new methodologies for the new synthetic chemistry, I only used to synthesize those compound which was suggested to me from a medicinal chemistry background people, that these will be useful against the kinases, against the it can be used as a radioprotector for the radiotherapy of the cancer patient, it can be used against the different antibiotic resistant bacteria, you can, if we can develop new small molecules. So presently what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to develop small molecules which can be used as a radioprotector for protecting the normal cells during the radiotherapy of the cancer patients. So whenever the radiotherapy of cancer patients occurs, the along with the cancer cells, normal cells also get affected. So to protect the normal cells, I'm synthesizing new molecules, and one of my molecule is now in the has been approved by the ICMR to take it to the clinical trial. So that is one major project in my laboratory, and the second major project, which is again a translational project, is the development of small molecule as an antibiotic, which are targeting the topoisomerase of bacteria, and topoisomerase 1A in bacteria, to kill the bacteria. And topoisomerase 1A is a new target, and that is not in in 2004, when I started this work, topoisomerase 1A was a non-identified target by the other scientists. They used to work on the topoisomerase 2 or 4. So I found out a new target that was a topoisomerase 1. So and what happens that when I synthesize a new molecule that goes, inhibits the topoisomerase 1 selectively in the bacteria, and it stops the replication of bacteria, and that is how the bacteria is getting killed. So I work on two very different things. One is cancer and another is infectious disease. Proud of means I'm really very happy with my work on radio protectors, and I feel that I'm still hopeful. See, small molecule and drug development is it's a kind of a you have a death valley for every drug development. Somewhere, uh, thousands of molecules come to the clinical stage and then they die of their own death. But I still feel that staying in a university system with a very small assistance in terms of the university, or maybe in terms of the funds, I could come up to this far, and I could develop an understanding in myself that how can a chemist can also I can now understand the biology of cancer. I can understand the pharmacology of the small molecule. I can understand the toxicology of small molecule. I can really now understand and even transfer this knowledge to the younger students, that how can you really not be remain as a heterocyclic molecular synthesis person. Rather, you can develop some small molecules with a purpose, that those molecules can be literally utilized. So you should plan, while you're planning or strategy of synthesis of molecules, you should always have a target in your mind. So I'm proud of this, that I can, from a raw chemist, I could now can call myself as a person who can really work on drug development. Yeah, I my life is full of challenges, and I can write a book actually. Sometime after retirement, I will write. See, I got married at the age of 21. I just because my mother was working, so she put me in a school at the age of 3 only, and so I completed my masters by at the age of 20 only. And while I was giving my MSc final practicals, so one gentleman, one very famous chemist, came from Allahabad University to take my practical examination, and he told my professor that I want to take this girl for PhD program, and that is how I reached to Allahabad. And then I said, I don't like your area. So he put me to another professor, and that was Mrs. Krishna Mishra. And she used to work on oligonucleotide synthesis. And for her, she was a very, very hard task master, and a wonderful scientist, a wonderful teacher. And her first rule was this, that if you want to do PhD in my laboratory, you cannot get married and you cannot have child during the PhD program. After PhD program, you can do whatever you want to do. So I got into her lab and started working, and it was more than it was hardly 6 months of the my registration that my father has a severe heart attack, and my mother put a thing that I want you to get married. Although she was highly educated person, but she was of opinion that I want that your father, anything can happen with your father, and so you should better get married, and after marriage also you can study if you want to study it. So now you know that if a supervisor, PhD supervisor, has already told you that you cannot get married, and you are going with a kind of a, and my father was a very he wrote me in an inland that one boy, his name is Sanjay Khanna, will come and see you in the hostel, and please him, and his family has interest in you, and if you are interested, then you can get married. That was the 5 6 lines were written in an inland, and that has come to me. And then we met on the Sunday, and I do not know what to do, and he also didn't know what to do. And then it was like a, you can say that a gudda gudia kind of a thing, and we both of us have really didn't want to get married. He wanted to go in a different life, I wanted to go in a different life, but uh, due to several reasons which I cannot explain here. But one was the reason that my father was sick, and for him there was a reason that he belonged to a family where there were 25 people in the line, and his father wanted him to get married. They were living in a big joint family. So then we got married. He was 23 and a half, and I was 21. And we got married, and my husband, and in the first week of my marriage, or maybe in the first month of my marriage, I got pregnant. And my husband left the job, and he left for MS to US. And when he reached US, he came to know that I'm married, I'm pregnant. And I was just, you can say that I was in a first year of my PhD program. And as soon as my so earlier only my supervisor wanted me to leave the lab. After a lot of pursuance, I could manage to stay with her, and as soon as she came to know that I'm pregnant, I was going for the abortion. One of my senior told her that she's going for abortion. She called me, she actually scolded me, and she told me that you leave the place and go back to the Lucknow. I got married into the Lucknow, in the Lucknow. So I said that I want to continue my PhD program. She didn't agree to it, and after a lot of pursuance, lot of say, you can say that every day I used to go to her room and stand outside her room for 1 hour, 2 hours. Finally, I don't know what happened, and she agreed. So I was her 25th student, and she agreed for her 25th student to get married and have a child. So she said, okay, then let us see what you can do. You have another 7 months, work day and night. So I worked for day and night. And then one day she came to me and she said that now you will not come to the lab because you're using pyridine. So you go back, and it was eighth month, and I went back. So I said, no, I can still continue for 15 days. But I continued for a week. I went back, I got a child. And then after 2.5 months, she wrote me a letter, and she purposely wrote me a letter, which I really came to know later, that if you will not join in another 15 days, I will cancel your registration. Although the maternity used to happen for the 3 months, but she wrote me a letter only after 2.5 months. And she wrote a copy to it, and then copy. Then I didn't know what to do. I came along with my child and my husband back to the Allahabad. I met her, and she said that you have to stay in there. So I said, what will happen to my child? She said, either you take a, say, you have to take a some paying guest kind of a facility. And I'm talking these all this is all year is 1988. So you can imagine what was the era that. And she said, no, you have to stay. Then I said, so initially I and my husband didn't complete his MS. He came back, he was without job, he has no salary. And so I had my fellowship only in my hand. And anyway, we had a family, and somehow there was a she did a magic, and she put me in the hostel itself. I think this must be a history. in the Allahabad University, or maybe it is a history in anybody's life, that nobody is ever allowed to live with a child, a 3 months old child, in the hostel itself. So in the same room, so my Mrs. So warden and the whole Allahabad University authorities refused to do so, and they said, no, this is not possible. She told me that you take a letter from all the girls who live in your corridor, and they all gave in writing that Vibha Tandon can live along with her child and with her one mate in the hostel. And I don't know how did it happen, whether God was doing it or Mrs. Krishna Mishra, who was my God at that time. And it happened, and I stayed there, and it was almost 2 years. My daughter and I stayed there, and then my daughter was taken by my husband to Lucknow, and then after that, 30th January 1991, she asked me to. So in say December 1990 or maybe November 1990, she told me to submit the thesis. So I said I have to do some more work. She said no, you submit and you go back. So I said I cannot write so fast. There was no computer era, so we have to type our thesis. So I started. She said no, you have to submit. And why she asked me to submit by 1991 January? Because A, I was completing my 5 years. B, the reason was this, that at that time all RA position, research association associate positions, used to advertise at that time, and 30th January used to be the last day. So she thought that if she submits in middle of the year, then for the whole year she will have no fellowship, and her in-laws will not let her do anything, and she will be again away from her career. So she should have a continuation. So she told me, and then my daughter got pneumonia. I told her that I have to go because my daughter got pneumonia. She said, "You go there, and but you have to write the thesis, and you have to make a commitment to me that you will submit by the 9th January." I used to send my chapters by post, and Mrs. Mishra was a person who, if you will send her 10 pages of write up, she will send you 20 pages of corrections. So she did all corrections and everything, and by the God grace and by the grace of my mother-in-law, who was a real gem at that time, I could submit my thesis, and with all support from Mrs. Krishna Mishra, I submitted my thesis on 29 January. I got the submission certificate on 30th January, and I posted my RA applications on 30th of January. So that is how it all happened. And then I got RA position. And if as a student of Mrs. Krishna Mishra, you go for an interview, people know that this person must be trained properly. So we got into the RA position, and then that's the life started. So that was my. I gave you a very small summary of everything, and I'm really, really very, very thankful to those girls. The power of the girls who used to live in my corridor. Those were 42 girls, and they used to love me and my daughter. And for 2 years, nobody can really threw out me from that hostel. So I only want to tell to my young girls, or my young students, or the young chemistry students of all over the India or the globally, that if you really want to do something, जिसे आप हिंदी में कहते हैं ना, कि आप कुछ करना चाहते हैं तो सारी कायनात आपके साथ आ जाती है. सो दैट इज़ व्हाट हैपेंड विद मी, and you can see that today I'm here, and I could really say travel up to this distance with all these. My only special force was hard work, perseverance, hard work, and this I learned. I was very lucky. My mother was a very hardworking lady. my mother-in-law was a very hardworking lady and very women oriented. She was actually a liberated woman, my mother-in-law. I'm talking you and telling you. And then the third person was my supervisor. Fine. So a PhD supervisor. So all these three women were the driving forces. And in my, if you ask me, I always only looked what next. I never looked what bad has happened with me or what may happen with me. I just kept on working, working. I can tell you that Mrs. Mishra gave me one reaction protection of the 2 hydroxyl of one of the ribosyl sugar, and I was not able to do that reaction. I did that reaction 70 times, and in the 70th reaction I got the protection done. If anybody else would have been in place of me, would have thought that Mrs. Mishra is really harassing me. Fine. And but I just kept on doing it because I thought, I every time used to think that she is demanding something which I cannot do, but still I used to do it. And I used to think that maybe something good will come out of it. So whenever I do something, I would only say that I'm a go-getter kind of a person who only believe in the hard work and only believe that, okay, fine, I did not find this time anything good for me, maybe next time I'll find it. So that keep me running in my life, in my personal life, in my professional life. And as a women, we already always had challenge, always had challenge. In the professional life also we had challenge because nobody recognizes us. And in the era when we came, I was from a very liberated family. My father was a very women oriented. We were only he had only two daughters and he was the happiest man on this earth. But when but the society was not like that, the way I was trained in my home. But I never used to fear that what will happen next. Even if I travel in the midnight, even at that time, if, I used to travel in the midnight. Sometimes something used to happen with me, but I just fought with those things. And I never thought, अच्छा मतलब मुझे कभी डर नहीं लगता था मुझे, उस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम पे डर लगता था, बट उसके बाद आई नेवर यूज्ड टू फील कि कल जो हुआ था ये मेरे साथ आज भी हो सकता है, तो छोड़ो आज ये काम नहीं करते हैं. आई ऑलवेज डू इट अगेन. आई वुड से दैट इफ आई फाइंड दैट इट इज राइट, दैट्स द ओनली. No, that's not the case. Initially I was ready to give up. Then Mrs. Mishra did not allow me to give up. Professor Mishra did not allow me to give up. But later on, I kept on reading about that reaction and I found that it is a feasible reaction. And I don't want to tell you what idiocy but anyway, I'm telling you, I was the temperature which I was using at that time. I was presuming that the room temperature is 25, but actually the room temperature was 18 degree, and the temperature was playing a role, and that is why I was not getting the protection. So, Dr. Mrs. Mishra was not ready to leave it, and B, I thought that if I can do this, maybe so many things are going on wrong with me. There was several things were happening with me in the family friend and in the lab front also. So I thought maybe if I'll do this, then Mrs. Mishra will very happy with me, and I'll get a very good paper in nucleic acid research, because I was doing a MSc in nucleic acid, PhD in nucleic acids, and nucleic acid research used to be the flagship journal at that time. And I used to think that if I'll get a paper in nucleic acid research, maybe my life will be changed. Although I did not get nucleic acid research later, but you can say that I had some object aim in my eyes or in my mind, and that aim was there. And another aim was there. If I'll say, means you will not agree. See, my sister was a philosopher. She was a philosophy PhD. She was doing philosophy PhD. She got into a love marriage and she left her PhD program. from BHU, and she was a topper and she was a brilliant girl. And my father used to always feel, I always used to see him and see that he's very sad for that. He was not sad, he was sad that my daughter could not get what she wanted to do. She didn't do what she should have done. So I used to think that if I will complete my PhD, if I will develop, if I'll become a good professor in good university system, my father will be very happy. So that was also one point which always, I in morning I used to, whenever I used to put that reaction in a round bottom flask, these few things which always used to come in my mind. Yeah, you can say that I used to believe in my parents, a and I I was different from some other uh, women who always used to think that if somebody is putting you on a asking you to slog, someone is saying to do something which is not expected to be done, they are not they are not thinking about you. So I mean to say that maybe there are a few things which is going around with you at that particular time is not correct for you, or people are not doing right thing for you. uh, but sometimes you should let some things happen with you, and but you should, at any point of time, I never sacrificed my career. That was one point, that I was offered a faculty position in IT college, which is a very famous college in Lucknow, IT college for women, and people dream of that kind of a college. I said, no, I don't want to become a college teacher because I have to do research in future. So that college, can only teach. So I never, there was some goal in my mind that I want to become a researcher, I want to do science, I want to become a professor. So those things I used to keep in mind. But this dichotomy, I always saw like that, that they are my parents, they are my supervisors. If they're I also did some mistakes, they want something and maybe that will be helpful. If I will not cooperate with them, they will be not happy. Already my sister has not given them what they wanted. So I thought, maybe if I can complete all their dreams on my own cost, uh, it is not much which they are asking from me. I have already told you my mantra, that is the hard work, perseverance, patience, and continuous perseverance, and patience, lot of patience. If you really want to do good chemistry, you have to have the patience with you. And you should always try to do those things the uh, which are right, maybe which is right for the your institution also where you are there. You should not only think about yourself, you should think about the people who are around you also, because that is one thing which is missing nowadays from the faculties or some of the scientists, because they get engrossed so much in their own science that they forget that they are teachers. We are first, we should be teachers in university system or there, and then we should be scientists. And we should be because I have been working with a couple of say women scientist program, where I think if you give me one line, you can put it anywhere. That I've been working with the Women Scientist program of Department of Science Technology and the DBT from last 10 years. That program is for a particular reason there, that the girls who have left their scientific career due to certain personal reasons, we have to bring them to the mainstream. And because I worked very closely with them from 2013, and I have done a lot of workshops for them, and we have funded them through DST, and we have interacted and mentored them, you will find most of them that they have left the science. The highest number of the people, they left the science because society did not support them. Number two, their family did not support them. Okay. Number three was the society bias for female. So because somebody has to give them a job, and they were thought that if because she was out of the scientific career for last 5 years, if they bring them back to the laboratory, she will not do the experiment right time at the right amount of the experiment, because she's out of the science. Because someone has to bring them back to the science, that is also necessary. So my only word is that rather than talking only to the younger generation, I would also like to talk to the people who are in our generation also. That we have got so much from our society. If we can really, as a female, give back to the younger females courage, and we can give them tell them that no, you don't live in your present. If you work hard, your future will be very good. Don't think that your present is not good, then your future will also not be good. So if we can just give them courage, if we can give them right kind of a environment, that will be the best thing for all of us. Sorry for taking your 4 minutes more.